The last time I shared thrift flips with you here on my channel, you guys loved it. I shared some tips and tricks for items that you can always find at thrift stores or garage sales, and share some really easy ways that you can transform them for home decor. Today I'm back with round 2 to share a ton more projects with different items I can guarantee you can find some variation of at your local thrift store, and how you can easily transform them to fit all the trends that are currently out there. It's gonna look like Kirkland's Pottery Barn, but without the price, so stay tuned. This is Whiskey and Whit. I'm Whitney, and if this is your first time here, I love to share DIY and budget home decor, as well as Cricut tips and wood builds here on this channel. So if you love all things DIY, be sure to hit subscribe down below so you don't miss a future Whiskey and Whit video. Without further ado, let's go thrifting. So I load up my car every time I go to Goodwill to go shopping, whether that be a box or like today I had the whole back of my car full. I load everything up and I donate. So then that way it's kind of like a one in, one out, or for me, one in, more than one out, to help so I don't have so much stuff. I like to have a plan before I go in to eliminate the extra stuff, because if not, it will literally just sit in your house and then you'll end up donating it again. Another super helpful thing when I'm shopping at Goodwill is to grab a cart. It allows you to see everything that you've picked up so you can make decisions before you check out. And also it allows you to stash some things in there while you're thinking about if you want to buy it, so then somebody doesn't come snatch it up from underneath you while you're deciding. All of this stuff that's next to me. So I had a good day at Goodwill. So the first item on my list was to find some baskets to help organize my house. When you go to a Target or another store and you need a large amount of baskets, it can add up, so I like to thrift mine. What I'm looking for are good shapes. I don't worry necessarily about the color. I just want a shape that will work for what I need, and I don't want it to be broken. Sometimes with thrifted baskets, they can be broken. Also, make sure to take off covers like you see here and check. This one was pretty on the outside, but a no-go. I ended up finding this really sturdy basket, but it had some rose gold in it, and that just doesn't match my decor. However, it was a great size, and I knew that I could easily make it over for the shelf that I have in our new nightstands in our bedroom. So I just grabbed some smoky beige spray paint from Rust-Oleum. This 2x paint and primer is my favorite to use on any project. I went through and gave it one coat sitting up regularly, let it dry, flipped it over, and repeated that same process. It ended up covering all of that sparkle, so it transformed from this to this. It was a really simple project, but now I've got something that matches my decor. You could pick whatever color. This was a super cheap and easy flip. Another way to transform thrifted baskets is with stain versus spray paint if you like more of those rustic wood colors. I ended up finding 2 really solid, great quality Longaberger baskets, but the orangey color doesn't go with my decor. So I just grabbed some dark walnut stain. I use a foam brush as well as a staining pad to apply the stain, and you're going to want to be liberal with this. I was able to put it on with the staining pad, use my little brush to get in any of the little crevices, and once I was done, I had a really beautiful dark wood basket. Now, because I used a lot of stain, I made sure to let them dry outside overnight, but once they were done, I had great pieces of decor that I'm actually going to use in our master bathroom. I'm using one to hold toilet paper and extra things, and then the other one is on the back of my toilet to hold all of my makeup eraser cloths. Still super solid, great quality baskets, but a little bit more my style. And what if you want to do something a little bit more fun with a pattern? I've got you covered too. So I picked up this round basket and I thought it would be great for our master bedroom makeover. In that room, I've got more modern and industrial elements, so I wanted to add some black to this basket. I grabbed some painter's tape and I just got to work taping off the areas that I wanted to keep the traditional wicker color and leaving open some large and small stripes so that that would be the area where the basket would be black. So the painter's tape with this went around pretty easily, and I was able to tape off one small at the top, one kind of medium sized in the center. And then because of the way the bottom of the basket was, I did more of kind of a hexagon type shape on the bottom, but it ended up working out just fine. I also went through and taped the little pieces that were over the handles because I wanted my handles to be black, but I wanted to keep that wicker color over the handles. So I just took some painter's tape and tucked it in either side. It was pretty easy to apply. And then my last step was to cover that top rung so that that would remain the tan wicker color. Then to get the look I wanted, I used matte black spray paint. This is that Rust-Oleum 2 times that I mentioned. All of these supplies will be linked down below that I used. And I made sure to do long, light strokes. You don't want to cake it on too much because then it will drip. Once the basket was dry, after I spray painted it flipped over, I flipped it right side up and added just a Walmart plastic bag and some extra tape to tape off the inside of the basket so that would remain the wicker color as well. I just needed some protection so I could finish getting the handles with the spray paint. And then I also went through and fixed any areas that might have been light from the original spray painting. I let it dry and then removed all of the painter's tape to reveal a beautiful basket. This is something that you would easily buy at Home Goods, Target, Kirkland's, and it was so cheap. It was under $5. I made sure to seal it with some polyacrylic, just a matte finish, just to protect it in case it got bumped so the spray paint wouldn't chip at all. It would be awesome with just some greenery in there. This goes really well with the aesthetic in our master bedroom, and I think this is going to hold some extra blankets underneath the blanket ladder that I made. If you're more traditional farmhouse and you like more of a buffalo check, this one is for you. You can use my buffalo check painting technique on a basket as well. I'm using this magazine rack that I found, but you could do it really on any flat surface with a basket, or you could do it on a basket tray on the bottom of it. I started with some 1.5 inch painter's tape, and I went through and did 3 evenly spaced horizontal stripes. And to make sure it was evenly spaced, I just used another piece of painter's tape. And then I went through with this satin granite spray paint to do my gray stripes of the buffalo check. You want to make sure that you are spraying directly down on the piece instead of at an angle, because that's when it tends to get underneath the painter's tape if it's going to smear on you. And then once that was dry, I removed all 3 of my pieces of tape, and then I went through and did the same thing but vertically with the spacer. And then I spray painted it. I did a little bit lighter of a coat here so I could see where my pieces of painter's tape were before, and that's how you're going to complete the look of the buffalo check. If you're afraid that you're not going to be able to know where to put your tape back, you can go through and just mark it with a Sharpie. And once all 3 of my pieces were back horizontally, I went through with my matte black spray paint to do my black squares. This turned out so cute. I sealed it with a layer of clear matte polyacrylic just to make sure that everything was sealed down. And this would be really cute to hold a variety of different things. I am using it on a shelf in our living room to hold blankets and pillows, and it matches that room's vibe because it has a lot of buffalo check. Something I've never bought at a thrift store before, but this was perfect timing, was a wall shelf. So a lot of times you find the ones that are circa mid-90s where they have the little hearts in the wood. I lucked out and found this really pretty Hobby Lobby one for $6.99. But what I'm about to show you, you can absolutely do with any shelf that has a flat back like this one. So step 1 is to prep your shelf. So for me, I wanted to remove the 3 hooks as well as the picture frames because I knew that I needed to get them out of there to do the project. I also removed the glass and put all of the pieces of hardware, including the screws, in a baggie so I could find them later on. At this point, if your shelf is an older wood color and you want to paint it, I would do that now. And we're going to cover the back of our shelf with some paint stir sticks to give it a really pretty wood look for cheap. So what I'm doing here is just cutting them to length on my chop saw. You could absolutely use a miter box if you do not have a big saw. I just had this out for a recent Christmas in July project, so no need to have a big saw to do this project. You just need something to cut it down, and they cut pretty easily. Then I stained them in a color that matched the bathroom where it's going. This is Briar Smoke by Varathane. And then I went through and just marked where I needed pilot holes eventually to reattach the hanging items. Just once I glued them, I knew I wasn't going to be able to find them. So once those were marked, I glued everything down piece by piece, just with some hot glue. Then I just used a drill bit the size of my screws to drill pilot holes so I wouldn't split the wood when I put the screws back in. This is a great way to cover up a lot of those heart shapes or circles in different shelves that you will see from especially the 90s that seem to be all over thrift stores near me. But really any type of shelf that you could adhere these paint sticks to would be great. I ended up putting this in Finn's bathroom, so that top basket is actually another thrifted basket that I spray painted. We put his washcloths in there, and the hangers are nice for his towels when he takes a bath. I loved this so much, I wanted to get it up, and I didn't have a chance to patch the holes from the old shelf, so don't mind those. Those will be fixed soon. I was also on the hunt for some candlesticks because I wanted them also for our master bedroom. I've done them before, covering them in white chalk paint, which look really great. These are in my living room, but these particular ones, I wanted to take them from yellow and shiny to kind of matte black to look like industrial ones. So to get that texture, I used my secret weapon, this Rust-Oleum multicolored texture spray. Rust-Oleum also has a stone spray that you could do the same thing with, but I'm going through and giving them a coat all the way around of this textured spray so that it will look like this, where it's got little, it almost looks like sand, but little pieces in there. And then you follow it up with your color. So here I'm doing matte black, flipped them over, made sure everything was coated. In person, it looks like it is a metal. And then I just followed up with some sealant. I like to seal all of my thrift store projects just to make sure that they aren't going to chip on me. And that is as easy as it is, but the texture spray paint really elevates the look. It took away any of that shine, and it went from kind of that drab yellow color to something that's super trendy. You could definitely find these at Kirkland's or Pottery Barn. And I completed the look with just some Dollar Tree LED candles because I've got a 1-year-old and I'm not trying to light any pillar candles like this anywhere in my house anytime soon. These are also really pretty on their own. You can even add a wood disc at the top and make them a candle holder versus a candlestick. In my experience, there is never a shortage of pitchers or vases in the thrift store. You just have to be able to look past what it is now to what it could be. I was recently on the Kirkland's website and I saw this vase and I knew I could recreate it with thrifted items. So I went right to the pitcher section. I looked through all of my options, which took a little bit, but then I found this one for $3.99 and it was perfect. It had the wide bottom, not as thin of a top as the inspiration picture, but it would work. So I grabbed my favorite white spray paint that is the same brand, the Rust-Oleum, but I like to do the flat white because it won't be shiny that way. I went over with a light coat, let it dry, and then did a second light coat. I'm going for about 90% coverage here, so it gives it a little bit of like a pearlized type of look like the inspo picture. After I let my sealant dry, I just took some hot glue and some Dollar Tree jute twine and wrapped it around the handle to mimic the look of the Kirkland's item. With this one, I used a little bit more hot glue than I usually would because I wanted it to hold tight, but after about 10 minutes of wrapping, it was ready to go. So here is the reminder of what I was going for, and here's what I ended up getting. I think it looks very similar, and honestly I like it a lot better because that other one was almost 60 bucks and this was well under 10. I just added some lamb's ear from Walmart and it looks like something straight out of Kirkland's. This was one item that I ended up grabbing that wasn't on my list. I know I said that was one of my cardinal rules, but I really love how it turned out. I loved the shape and the fact that it was white fleck over the blue. However, blue doesn't go with my decor, but I knew black would go with my kitchen a lot better. So it was a super easy fix. I spray painted it 2 coats with the matte black spray paint, and then to get that speckled white color, I just got a paintbrush, some white acrylic paint, and flicked it with my finger like so, and that allowed me to get some splatter on there to mimic what it looked like before. Now I recommend using acrylic paint versus a chalk paint because a chalk paint is going to be thicker, and so the acrylic paint that's a little more watered down is going to splatter like this versus kind of give you globs or chunks. But this is awesome. It looks like something you could easily find in a boutique or an antique store, and it was a really quick and easy flip to make it fit my decor. In my last video, I did a lot of options with white. Here, I'm liking more darker tones, so here's another option for a black pitcher. Two-toned items are really popular right now, so I decided to spray paint the whole thing matte black, let it dry, and then use some painter's tape to mark off a bottom, probably a little over of a quarter, between the bottom quarter and bottom third of this. I'm also adding on top of that tape a Walmart bag so that the top of my pitcher is not going to get any of this smoky beige on it. Then I covered that whole bottom area, let it dry, and then I used my texture spray from Rust-Oleum we've been using all video to make it look textured at the bottom. Because it's brown, it goes really well with that smoky beige, and then all I had to do was peel off my painter's tape to reveal this beautiful two-toned pitcher. I also picked up a smaller little white pitcher, but it was pretty dirty. I cleaned it up, and then I also spray painted that the same black. And both of these, I have to figure out where I'm going to put them, but they are going to go in my kitchen, and I love them. I always make sure to stop by the Vases every time I go into a Goodwill, and this is one of the areas where I could get in trouble because they're so easy to flip. Sometimes you get lucky and you find some high-end stuff really cheap, like this Kirkland's lantern. I just had to take off that Christmas ribbon, and it's great for year-round. But I also wanted to share that if I am looking for a vase, I also look at the other ceramic aisles, because items like these, you could easily take the lid off and it could become a vase. On this particular trip, I needed a tall, skinny vase for my dining room refresh that I recently did, and this one was perfect, especially because the green tags were half off that day, so under $3. Step one is taking the flat white spray paint and neutralizing the print underneath. If you already had a solid color, I don't think you would need to do this. Then I followed a similar process that I did with those candlesticks, where on top of that white, I did my textured spray paint. And then I went back through with smoky beige to neutralize it. The textured spray paint is for exactly texture, so it's not really going to cover anything, so that's why you needed the primer beforehand. But this thing looks like it could easily have been purchased at a higher end store. And also, I absolutely love the florals in there because it is Walmart eucalyptus, and then those flowers I recently got at 70% off at Michael's. Also on my list were a couple statement vases for different areas of my house, especially heading into fall. I wanted some stuff I could put fall greenery in, and I really loved the character of this one with the two different heights of the handles, as well as the woven wrapped handles. So again, on Kirkland's website, here's another inspiration that I saw, and I thought this would work all the way throughout the year. So I first started off by taping off those handles I liked so much so I could keep them, spray painting the entire thing white, and then once it was dry, I used some electrical tape this time, and I would definitely recommend this. I had to check it out because I got so many comments last time that I should be using electrical tape, and you guys, like usual, did not steer me wrong, so thank you for everyone that commented that. I then followed up with the bag and taped that on just so the top would stay white, and I painted the bottom just a light gray color. Peeled off my tape, which worked out really awesome. It didn't peel off any paint. And as a reminder, here's my inspo, and here is my version of it. I absolutely love this. You could do it as is, or you could add a ton of greenery or fall foliage like I plan to do. And my last find was something similar to this Pottery Barn urn. I found this one for $3.99, and I wanted to lighten it up. So I went through and did the same process that I did with the other one. The top is smoky beige and the bottom is a light gray, but you could really do a ton of different combinations based on your decor, but it is so much easier to find a cool shaped container that could be uniquely yours.
Thanks so much for watching. As always, let me know down in the comments your favorite project, and hit subscribe if you haven't done so already so you don't miss a future Whiskey and Whip video. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Bye!